from our headquarters in Palo Alto, California. This is GDM's Morning Spark, Good Driver Mutuality's podcast. Start your day on fire.
Welcome everyone to Morning Spark, and this is the exciting Tuesday edition where we all get a lot smarter. Every time I talk with David and his team about our service approach, about the quality we put into our repair process, and just all the different details about how the repair process works, I get a lot smarter. And I hope you guys, I'm confident you're going to feel the same after this presentation day. You're just going to be a lot smarter at how the repair process works and some of the different details that are really important for all of us to know about. And we're so excited to have David and his team on with us today. David and Javier and Stephen. And, you know, they're from our Richmond, Virginia office. Every time you see one of my presentations, I show you that picture and mention, hey, this is where our service team works out of. Well, today you get to see the inside of the building, right? You get to see them in their conference room, in their environment. But you know, they are fantastic, and I'll just turn it over to David and his team to whatever introduction they want to give to themselves as well as to our topic, and we'll let them take it from there. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, thanks, Alan, and welcome everybody to this new morning session. Thank you for taking your time. I know some of you it's 8 o'clock in the morning for you, so I appreciate you joining with us here, coming from our Richmond office location. This is our creativity space here, our conference room. We spend a lot of time every day in here discussing our events and how to improve the platform and the programs and improve our software and deliver better services for everyone. So for some of you that haven't seen us before, I'm Dave Clark, the Director of Mutuality Operation. This is Javier, one of our Mutuality Advisors. He will be presenting today. And this is Stephen, one of our other Mutuality Advisors. All of us have many years of experience in the industry. And have worn many hats over the past, from pretty much all the facets you would expect to see in an insurance claim world. But we have all the skills in all the aspects of that, so we're able to have you with a single point of contact versus your typical insurance experience, where you may talk to 3 to 4 to 5 different people during your claim that you might experience through your insurance carrier. Today, we're going to talk about Javier is going to be discussing remaining pledge balance. I'm going to put a plug in while I'm thinking about it. Next morning, next Tuesday, we'll be redelivering the topic on roadside assistance. As I understand, there's still some questions about that, being a fairly new service that we're offering. But with no further ado, I'm going to let Javier take over and discuss remaining pledge balance and how that works in relation to when you have an event. And go through that process. It's an informal session, but Javier, we don't have too many slides. We'll get through the presentation. Anybody will open it up for a Q&A. Anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat group, and Alan or Brigham can catch those chat questions for us and repeat them to us, or go ahead and ask your questions. We'll spend as long as everyone needs to today, make sure everybody has a better understanding of remaining pledge balance. And you can go convey that message to your groups as well. With that, Javier.
Thank you, David. As David mentioned, we're going to be talking about the remaining pledge balance, which is actually a question that has come up in every single event that we have handled. So obviously it is a topic of much interest. So it's a short presentation. If you do have any questions, please wait until the end, because there's a good chance that some of your questions could be answered throughout the presentation. But let me go ahead and start sharing my screen.
All right, great.
All right, so let's move forward. This is just a little bit of information about myself. I will be the presenter today. I've been working with insurance for a little over 13 years now, different skill sets. And let's see. Let's go straight forward to our presentation, remaining pledge balance, or as we call it, RPB. What we're going to be discussing today is 4 major topics. 1, what is RPB, or what is the remaining pledge balance? When do I have to pay my RPB? How do I pay my RPB? And what happens after I pay my RPB? And as you will find out throughout the presentation, because Good Driver is set up through RPB, there's a lot of savings involved. But again, we'll touch that very shortly. Let's go ahead and move forward with our first question. What is RPB? Now, in order to easily understand what RPB or remaining pledge balance is, let's first understand what every single GDM member has already been paying for years, maybe 5, 10, 20, 30, or even more. And what I'm talking about is your insurance premium or quote on a traditional insurance. So when you get a quote on your Allstate or Progressive or Geico, you get a specific quote amount, let's say $500, just to keep it simple, and you're going to pay those $500 throughout your 6 month, regardless if you have an accident or not. When your policy renews, you're going to get paid that full amount again, and when policy renews again, you're going to pay that full amount again and again and again. Now, this is where the magic happens, and this is what makes us different here at GDM. What Good Driver Mutuality is going to do is they're going to match that quote for collision comprehensive coverage that you're already paying and been paying for years with your traditional insurance. But instead of paying the full amount, you're only going to pay 20% up front, which is called a service fee. That remaining 80% is your pledge balance. And what's going to happen is on a weekly basis, GDM is going to have some sharing requests for members that have incurred some losses and need to be made whole. And a small contribution will be made from that pledge balance for each member. The way it's set up, I believe it's up to 3.5%.
3.75%, moving to ultimately 7.5%.
Thanks for that. So GDM has done the calculations on that, and based on that math, each member is going to save around 40% of their full quote, even though they're doing weekly sharing. So this means, let's say your quote was $500, and you did not have an accident, and you did weekly sharings, you save around $200 for those 6 months. Now, again, just to mention the difference again, let's say you came from Allstate. You were paying $500 for 6 months, and on your renewal, you paid $500 for those 6 months, and again, regardless if you had an accident or not. But with GDM, if you don't have an accident, you're going to save around 40%. And we save 40% to play it safe, but we have seen some savings up to 70%, if I recall well. So we save 40% to play safe, but it could be more. I mean, think about it. Let's say you've been paying for this coverage through Geico or Allstate for 30 years, and you've been doing this with GDM for 30 years. 40% of a $500 quote, if I'm doing my math correctly, that's about $6,000 in 30 years. So again, you do save a lot of money because that is what makes us different. Now, easy way to understand what the remaining pledge balance is remembering your remaining pledge balance is basically your remaining quote. So again, they match your quote for whatever you were already paying, but you're not going to pay the full amount if you don't have an accident. That's why we say safe driving saves big. Now, what if you do have an accident? Well, let's go ahead and move to the second slide. When do I have to pay my RPB? All right, so if you have a collision event, meaning you collided with a stationary object or with another vehicle, you're going to have to pay your full remaining pledge balance. If you had a comprehensive event, like you hit an animal or a tree fell on your car, your vehicle was stolen or vandalized, the RPB is going to apply. If you have a glass-only event, which is also considered a comprehensive event, your RPB is going to apply. If you do a sharing request for transportation assistance, your RPB is going to apply. Again, keep in mind that with traditional insurance, your quote or your premium is always going to apply. You're always going to pay that in full, regardless if you have an accident or not. It doesn't matter how many years you've been with that insurance company, you're always going to pay the full amount. But with GDM, you're only going to pay that full amount if you have one of those losses. And if you think about it, it's a fair process for the community. When we have a sharing request, the members have to contribute towards the loss of that member that suffered that loss. It's only fair for that member to pay his own remaining pledge balance before others contribute to this loss. Now, when does it not apply? RPB does not apply to roadside assistance. And this is something I want to clarify. RPB is not your out-of-pocket. These are two different things. So let's go back to the traditional insurance example, just to make it simple, because most of us have been dealing with traditional insurance for years, so it might make it easier to understand. So your RPB is basically that quote that you get from your insurance. Your out-of-pocket is what you would call in your traditional insurance your deductible. So if you have Allstate, you pay your full quote or premium, and if you have an accident, you have to also pay your deductible. Same thing with GDM. If you have a loss, you pay your RPB, your remaining pledge, and your out-of-pocket also applies. But again, if you don't have a loss, then you're never going to have to pay your full amount. Now let's go to the next slide. How do I pay my remaining pledge balance? Well, it depends on the scenario. So if you're having your vehicle repaired, you're going to pay it at the time of the completion of the repair. So if you go to our Repair Partners Innovation, once you go pick up your car, you're going to pay that remaining pledge balance directly at the repair shop. If you're going through our Repair Partners Service Up, which is our white glove service, when they schedule your delivery, they'll send you a link so you can actually take care of that payment. If you're having a glass repaired, same thing. Once the repairs are completed, you pay it at the spot. If you have a total loss, the process is a little different. We could say it's slightly easier. Your remaining pledge, again, including your out-of-pocket, is just going to be deducted from your total loss settlement. So if your total loss settlement was $10,000 and your remaining pledge balance was $500, and that's just going to be deducted from the total loss settlement that will be paid to the member. All right. Now, what happens after I pay my remaining pledge balance? Well, very simple. There is nothing else for you to share or pay, meaning you may still have 3 months left in your GDM plan, but you're not going to contribute to any additional weekly sharing because you already paid your remaining pledge balance in full. And if you happen to have another loss during that same plan period, then you're not going to have to pay the remaining pledge balance because it's already been paid in full. All right, so like I said, this is a very straightforward presentation, very short, but at this moment, do we have any questions?
Well, Javier, I'd like to provide a little input, additional input here. For example, the glass-only event that we have to pay the remaining pledge balance. So even if you have your out-of-pocket waiver for the glass-only event, you still have to pay the RPB. So when you file a glass event, keep in mind that the cost of the glass and look at that in relation to your remaining pledge balance. So in many situations in a glass-only event, there may not be any sharing through the community. It may be only your remaining pledge balance, and it may not be the full remaining pledge balance needed to take care of that glass-only event, even if you have the glass out-of-pocket waiver. And as Javier had mentioned there, when you go to pick up your vehicle at the repair facility, that you pay that remaining pledge balance, you would also have to pay your out-of-pocket at that time as well. So you would pay your out-of-pocket and remaining pledge balance at the end of the repair process through our partners at Innovation or Service Up. And again, at the total loss, both the out-of-pocket and the remaining pledge balance would be deducted from that final payment to you. So no funds would need to be dispersed from your side at that point. We would simply deduct it from that final settlement. So just a little clarification, especially on the glass. When you have that waiver for the out-of-pocket, you still have to pay your RPB. All right, thank you.
Thank you, David.
So now back to the group. Remember, everybody's on mute. So if you have any questions, feel free to unmute and ask any questions or send it through the chat. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm watching the chat. We don't have any questions in the chat yet, but yeah, feel free, everyone, to if you're more comfortable to just type it in, put it in there, and I'll read it to Javier, David, Stephen, and the team. And okay, and here's our first question, Hannah. What does the waiver entail?
So
So glass damage waiver. Maybe go into some detail on that, guys.
So yeah, I'll take that then. So you have the option when you sign up for a GDM plan to choose the glass out-of-pocket waiver. That is for a glass-only event. There is a surcharge for that opportunity, but that means you would not have to pay your out-of-pocket if you had a glass-only event, meaning if you just cracked your windshield or somebody tried to break into your car and broke the side glass or something. So if it was only glass, and our guaranteed and contracted partner SafeLight takes care of that, you would not have to pay your out-of-pocket. However, you would have to pay your remaining pledge balance. For glass only, that is the only time there is an out-of-pocket waiver is for glass only.
Thank you, David. All right, we have another question. Just a moment. All right, if somebody files a comprehensive claim and pays the remaining pledge balance along with the out-of-pocket, then a few months later has a windshield crack, how would the payment work?
So with that, if you have you can have one event, and then on top of one event, you can have one glass event. So that's two events, one collision or comprehensive type loss plus one glass event, and you're good. That's kind of like the I don't know if it's the right word, the free space, if you will. But if you had a second glass event, then yes, that would impact your renewal. There would most likely be a change in your renewal. It wouldn't be too much for glass, but if you had a significant collision loss, additionally to that. But so everybody can have one loss and then one glass event. So cumulatively two. If it's a glass event, you can't have two accidents. You can have one accident and one glass event to be able to renew. And
Okay, thank you.
It-
I think they're also wondering about the payment process on that second event. So, and just to review it again, so they filed.
And I think I understood. I can answer that.
Okay.
So if you have a comprehensive claim and you pay your full RPB and then you have a glass claim, that's another comprehensive claim. So on the new glass claim, your RPB is going to be zero. So it's not that it doesn't apply, it's just that it's zero because it's already been paid. Your out-of-pocket will apply, but if you have that out-of-pocket waiver, then it's also going to be zero for that glass claim or glass event. Sorry.
And if your
Okay.
plan moves, then your RPB would start again from scratch. But during that plan, you paid your RPB. That means you paid up your plan. So any future sharing requests, no more weekly sharing requests, even if your plan has 4.5 more months into it, you will not have to contribute to any more weekly sharing during the course of that term.
Great. Okay. Yep. I think that answers it. Yoshi, thank you for your question. All right. DC asking, will my renewal quote go up after one claim with GDM?
So it's all relative to each person. You can renew again and I think I might have been reading ahead the chat when I answered my first question there. To this question is that you can have one event and then one glass claim and have the two and be able to renew. If you have more than that, you might not be able to. Most likely cannot renew with GDM. However, would your rates go up if you will, is that it depends on the type of loss that occurred. If you have a $25,000 repair or a $30,000 total loss, that's significant, right? That'll have a greater impact on your renewal quote. if you had a simple 2 windshield losses for, $500 each, that's going to have much less of an impact, if any. But this is the same question that comes across in the insurance world. I've had a claim, will my rates go up? It's different for everybody. It's based on where you live, your age, your type of car, the payout. It's all algorithmically calculated. But kind of the general concept is nothing's free in life, so chances are it will most likely have an impact. As to how much, that's only really acknowledgeable. Our side, the service team, is unable to identify that. You would see that at renewal time of what that new quote would be.
So we've got a behind the scenes process that automatically evaluates all of those factors you've just described, right, David? And just an automated system that calculates that.
Correct. We have software. We've intense labor intensive, and even dealing with a lot of complex behind the scenes algorithms, partnering with insurance companies and other sources to gather some of those methods to give a fair and accurate assessment and calculation that's similar to what you would see in your insurance carrier.
Gotcha. Okay, great. All right, next question. Cora, what if the car damage is minimal or less than the remaining pledge balance? What happens? Oh, that's a good question because I've heard you guys talk about that. So I'm looking forward to the reminder on that too. What if the car damage is minimal or less than the remaining pledge balance?
Well, in that case, the member is going to end up paying for the whole event out of pocket. Now, they will be able to take advantage of GDM services and lifetime warranties that we provide. And also, let's say they had a remaining pledge balance of $1,000 and they paid $800. It was a small loss. Well, now they only have $200 left in that remaining pledge. So chances are they will reach the point where they don't have to share anymore. Or if they happen to have another loss, instead of having to pay $1,000 on the remaining pledge, because they already paid such a big amount, it might just be $100. So yes, it will be out of pocket from the member if it's a minor loss and everything falls short of the remaining pledge. But again, it's going to make that RPB go down significantly, and they're still going to take advantage of the service partners that we provide and the lifetime warranties.
And just as a benchmark, the average glass loss in the U.S. is, and I forget the exact number, but it's just shy of $900. The average accident collision cost is about $4,800. So again, most people aren't going to owe $4,800 on the remaining pledge balance. So chances are they're sharing in an accident. Keeping in mind that if it's around $800 plus or minus for glass, you have to make your own decisions to say, hey, I see my remaining pledge balance is $500. Do I want to go through with this or not? And the answer is, again, you could avail yourself potentially to some of our services, and it would reduce that remaining pledge balance. Or some people decide to withdraw their sharing request because they don't want one of those events to count towards the potential for renewal. So it's a personal decision at that point. You can always submit an event, submit a sharing request, and we can review that with you and then discuss in detail your individual situation to allow you to make an informed business decision of whether you want to go forward or just take care of it yourself. So we will definitely guide you through that process in those unique situations.
Ooh, I like that. So if someone is like, yeah, hey, I had this incident, and then when you get into the details of it, they check it out, it's really only going to be a few $100s, then you'll let them, upon consultation with you guys, actually withdraw the request if they don't want, if they don't want it to go against RPB, and if they just want to take care of it themselves to minimize any potential of an increased a quote amount for the renewal. That's what you're saying, right, David?
Absolutely, and that has occurred in a decent number of windshield glass only events. Many people have chosen to cancel that request based on after providing that information. So it doesn't mean it's good or bad. That's just their decision that said, I might as well take care of it myself if it's all out of pocket and not have an event recorded against me at GDM. And
Gotcha.
otherwise, other people sometimes, again, hey, I don't know how to get my car fixed. What do I do? They can still avail themselves of our repair partners.
It
Okay.
really is an individual thing, and it really does have to be a case by case thing, because your remaining pledge balance is different from person to person to person. Even on the same type of car, we have a lot of Tesla Y owners here, and we've done a lot of windshields for them. And some people will have an RPB of just a couple $100. I remember earlier this year we had a Tesla for a windshield, and this individual had actually several $1,000s for their RPB, and that's just their particular case. So in their case, it didn't it didn't behoove them to take advantage of paying out the RPB, because the windshield replacement was going to be below it anyway. But that's what they chose to do in that situation. But again, it's
Yeah.
individual. Always come to your MAs, to your mutual advisors, and ask us questions. That's what we're here for.
Thank you. That's great. And then just jumping along, DC had a follow-up question to the earlier one about the number of accidents and so forth. Thank you for the explanation. He says, if the person has two accidents, do we ban the VIN of the car or the driver? He said driver license number, because that person might have more than one car. So that's a great question. So I think you know what they're asking, right? Is it a car specific situation, or is it the policyholder
It is.
situation? Please.
Now that is a good question, and traditionally with regular insurance too, there's confusion of, does insurance follow the driver or follow the car? The insurance really follows the car. At GDM, the plan follows the VIN. So that VIN would be non-renewed, but that, member, based on how we're set up, you have to have a separate plan for each vehicle, which is different than your regular insurance. So you can maintain those other plans. You may have three other plans for three other vehicles. Just that one VIN would not be able to renew. If you're in good standing and just because of an event count, then that VIN would not be eligible for renewal. However, your other plans would not be affected based on loss count. I'm going to divert a little bit though, and say that if there is elements of fraud associated with any of our losses, you may, even though if it was on one VIN, on one event, you may suffer plan cancellations for all plans based on the severity of the fraud that was attempted. So keep in mind that, yes, that could impact you across the board for negative behaviors, but otherwise, if it's just one VIN and didn't meet those standards, then that it's only for that plan on that VIN only.
Thank you. Thanks. That's great. Donna Marie is asking, could you repeat the calculation of the pledge amount again, please? So I assume the pledge and remaining pledge balance, that sort of thing.
So when you have a loss, a regular loss, we're not talking about class waivers at the moment, but if you have a regular loss, you will have to pay your out-of-pocket, which is similar to your deductible with your regular insurance. And then your remaining pledge balance, you have to pay that as well. Think of that as the rest of your premium for your insurance plan. Your insurance plan, you always have to pay your policy in full, whether you have an accident or not. Here, you only have to pay your plan in full if you have an accident. Because as noted earlier, not fair to ask other people to share if you haven't made good on the cost of your plan. So when you have a loss, you have to pay your out-of-pocket plus remaining pledge balance. When it's repairable, you pay it to the repair partner. When it's a total loss, GDM will deduct that from the payment for the value of your vehicle.
Okay, thank you. And then
Yes, I'm
just to,
sorry. This is Donna Marie. Yes, I get that, but how do you calculate? Because some people have a smaller premium, right?
Oh, okay.
So how do you calculate the pledge amount
Okay, good.
that
I
other people
understand now.
spend?
So Javier, you want to?
Yeah, so when you get a quote from GDM, you're basically getting the quote based on your traditional insurance premium. So if someone has been paying $500, with Allstate, that's going to be their quote. If someone has been paying $300 with State Farm, that's going to be their quote. So what GDM does is they match whatever the person has already been paying or is currently paying with that traditional insurance. Now, how does Allstate or Progressive or Geico come to those calculations? That's going to depend on many factors, uh, vehicle type, location, driving history. But again, what GDM is doing, they're basically matching what they already have on their traditional insurance.
And again,
And so that becomes your quote. Your quote matches what you're paying with your insurance, what you were paying with your insurance, and then 20% is the service fee, and then the remaining 80% is the pledge amount, and that remaining pledge balance just keeps decreasing as you do weekly sharing and so forth.
so even if it's the exact same car, it's going to be different for everybody based on where you live, based on your age, based on your previous accident history. So even the exact same car will have a wide-ranging amount of insurance quotes, and even if the people had the exact same record, State Farm's fee will be different than Allstate's fee. So it's definitely different for every single individual.
So I'm sorry, I heard something about a 3% to 7%. Would that be the percentage of the calculation, I assume?
No, that the 3.75% and the 7% we mentioned is the weekly sharing maximum that you're making, which chips away at your remaining pledge balance. So whatever events occurred this week, and 4 people had accidents, and we submitted that, and everybody can review that on the GDM app. Everybody is withdrawn, money is withdrawn from your account to not to exceed those limits. And most of the time it doesn't even hit those limits, because most of the time the sharing is not substantial. But one week you could have 2 total losses and an expensive repair, and somebody might max that week. But that's the maximum that comes out of your RPB each week on the sharing, which reduces your total RPB when you have a loss. So as your plan continues to move forward, your RPB goes down by the week. So when you have a loss, it's what is the RPB at that point in time based on the deductions of your weekly sharing prior.
Understand. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Donna Marie. Great questions and follow-up questions. Jan has a question: how to calculate GDM donation? Some are on report, some not. I'm not quite sure. Maybe I'm not exactly sure what Jan's asking. I don't know if you want to clarify, Jan, or maybe David and team, you guys have got that. I'm not sure.
Is that about the weekly sharing? If it's about the weekly sharing, the amount requested each week is based on the number of losses in money being requested for that week. There could be one week where there is 0 sharing requests, which has occurred quite a few times. Sure. And then there could be a week where there was only 1 glass claim and the sharing amount was $328. So everybody shared 82 cents. Yeah. But if there are weeks, we've got a couple of total losses going on now. So when you have to ask sharing for 10 grand and 15 grand and a $7,000 repair, your sharing might hit that threshold, and again, it's that maximum of 3.75%. Alan, how long does that 3.75 still last?
Oh, I don't remember the exact date, David. I wish I did. Sorry.
But it's still in place now, I believe, right? Yeah. The 3.75 is still now. Yeah. So, but the 3.75% max of that weekly sharing is calculated off of the 3.75% of your individual remaining pledge balance. That's right. So if your individual remaining pledge balance is $200, the max would be 3.75 of 200. If your remaining pledge was 2,000, it's 3.75 max of the 2,000. So everybody's contribution each week will be different. However, percentage-wise, it will never exceed for the same 3.75% of your remaining pledge balance, ultimately to go to 7.5 some point in the future. So hopefully that answered that question.
And by the way, guys, the 3.75 goes through the end of the year.
Great. That's great. That's awesome.
Thank you, Brigham. All right, Dano's got a question. Will there ever be a limit on the amount of pledge towards glass?
The No, the remaining pledge is what it is. So in many scenarios, and it may not be the right answer, but in many scenarios, the remaining pledge is greater than the cost of a windshield, an average windshield. So it's probably a pay out of pocket most of the time, and then you still got some remaining pledge left. There's some instances where the remaining pledge is eaten up, but then there's only $50 that goes through sharing. But again, on a case by case, Stephen,
You might have been asking, are there limits on how many glass claims you can have?
are there? Yeah. So if it's limits on glass claims, yes. Again, you can only have one free glass claim, not counting towards the renewal. If you've had 3 glass claims, that would negatively impact your ability to renew next term.
Okay, Dino, if that didn't cover it all, feel free to go off mute or type in some more, and I'll just keep going, and, unless you jump in. Next question is Huang Dong. In the case of a total loss accident, if other insurance carriers still offer payment for the total loss, but also give the insured the option to keep and repair the car themselves, does the insurance company simply deduct a certain amount from the total loss payout?
Yes. So let's say your total loss settlement is $10,000 for a car that GDM is going to take ownership and dispose of it. If there's an option, because this is going to depend on state regulations, if there's an option where the member is able to keep that vehicle because the state allows it, then we will get what we call a salvage quote, meaning how much were we going to get from this vehicle once we sold it for auction. And please keep in mind that once we sell a vehicle for auction, we put those funds right back in the community. So let's say the salvage quote amount was $1,500. Those $1,500 would be deducted from the $10,000 settlement. It will be called an owner retained total loss settlement, and the payment will be $8,500 instead of $10,000, but the member would keep the vehicle.
Now, to add to that, if you retain a total loss at GDM, and as with most insurance companies, you cannot get comprehensive and collision coverage back on that vehicle. And in most insurance companies, they might not even let you get liability and will not insure it at all. GDM, that plan will be canceled for that vehicle if you retain that vehicle. You will have to seek alternative coverage. All the different states have different laws. We can guide you through the laws on the owner retention. They are complex. They set standards where we have to abide by law, and some states make it very difficult to keep that car and repair it. We strongly advise against retaining a vehicle, but if you so choose to and the law allows you to, we would deduct that salvage value. On average, the industry salvage value is 20%. So keep in mind that it's typically 20%. However, GDM has been very successful and quickly selling our vehicles based on our streamlined design build with our salvage partner Copart. We have been receiving 30, 40, and 50% salvage returns for our sales, which means that much money goes back into the community. So at a future time when that car sells and there's a sharing request that week, the returns that we receive from the sale of that salvage will reduce the amount of your individual weekly contribution and be offset by the money put back into the platform for the sale of that vehicle. So again, keep in mind the industry average is 20%. Your particular vehicle and that type of damage could be as much as a 50% salvage quote. So you'd be getting significantly less money if you kept that vehicle. But again, case by case, we will discuss the details of each total loss. You do have the opportunity to retain at GDM if the state allows it.
And just to add something there, everything that I mentioned and David was mentioning is no different than what the traditional insurance is going to do. It's going to be the same process. It's going to be a case by case. It's going to depend on the state regulations and laws that they have to go by, and they are going to deduct the salvage amount if they're going to do an owner retained total loss settlement. The only difference is that when we sell a vehicle at auction, GDM, the funds go right back to the community. That does not happen with traditional insurance. That's basically profit for them. But here at GDM, it just goes right back to the community.
It was sure nice having a lot of weeks in a row of zero weekly sharing due to right, due to the funds being put in from the amount we collected from that total loss. Yeah, that was nice.
And I'll just add that by, saying it goes back to the community. It's not that the community receives the money, like, you don't get money out of it. It's just that the amount goes to subsidize some of the following repairs.
Good point. It offsets what would have been weekly sharing. That's right. Okay, next question, DC. If I am traveling and my rental car happened to hit someone, will GDM cover me? If so, how is the claim process? Would you mind to share in more detail?
You want to take that one first?
When it comes to rental cars, uh, the first thing that you need to understand is that GDM is not insurance. So typically, the answer to that off the bat is we're not going to be covering rental cars. There's a series of hoops you have to jump through in order for GDM to cover a rental car. When you rent a car, you have to use a credit card. They don't let you just rent a car with cash anymore. You have to use a credit card. Your credit card can often have rental benefits to it. Take, for example, the Sapphire card. I think that it protects you up to $15,000. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm just guesstimating there, but there are certain benefits that you have to look for. Also, when you rent a car, they have the damage waiver that you can get, the little insurance policy that you can get there. I always recommend that you buy their insurance. Always buy their insurance. But it would have to go through the damage waiver and they would have to deny it. It would have to go through your credit card and they would have to deny it for GDM to be able to cover your rental car. Can we? Yes. The statistics are pretty slim that we're going to be covering a rental car, though.
And oftentimes when you rent a vehicle, some agencies require proof of insurance when you rent a car.
Yeah.
So if you have a primary plan that still has comprehensive and collision on it, that would take place first as well. So you've got potentially, if you maintain comp and collision with your primary plan, potentially coverage through the credit card, and then potentially coverage through the collision damage waiver that you purchased with the renter. And then after all those have shown to be exhausted or not existing, and GDM receives confirmation of such, then GDM falls into that secondary space, if you will, that then we would take care of it. So yes, officially we do say that you can make a sharing request for your rental vehicle, but you must meet that other criteria of showing that those other resources are exhausted first, and or there's a shortfall in any payout of those other resources, and then you could come through GDM where you would still have your out of pocket and your remaining pledge balance. Keep in mind when you rent a car, it must be of a similar car. If you have a Honda Civic on your plan, you can't be in Vegas and rent a Cadillac Escalade and have a loss. It has to be a similar type vehicle, like that would be a compact car or a compact SUV or a midsize SUV to match your vehicle that you have. So it would be unfair to ask the community to share in a loss on a Cadillac Escalade when you've only been paying your quote amount was for a Honda Civic. So it has to be a like kind vehicle for that. So yeah, I would oftentimes people, you can have rental on your plan, you can drop it and come to us. But again, we don't make the rules about the rental car companies. They require proof of insurance. GDM is not insurance. So you may not be able to rent the car, or they may make you purchase the collision damage waiver because you can't show proof of insurance. So just keep that in mind when you rent a car, that we're there to assist, but kind of from a legal aspect, it has to go through those other processes and the requirement of the rental car companies.
And just to such a long response, make it quick and easy. Yes, GDM will basically handle that, but because we're not insurance, we're always going to be secondary. So they'll have to go first through all those possible coverages like your credit card or your collision waiver, or if you still have comp and collision on your liability carrier. But you do have peace of mind because you know if everything fails, GDM is there in the back and we will take care of it. It's just that we're not going to be primary, so they have to make sure there's no additional coverage. But I saw the question about does that mean if do we need to keep rental coverage in our liability insurance policy? Rental coverage is not what's going to protect your rental vehicle. Just wanted to make that clear. As transportation assistance. That basically means if you have an accident, the insurance carrier, or in this case, GDM, will be able to provide a rental or transportation assistance or reimburse for that rental. That is not what protects the rental vehicle itself. It's still going to be under your collision and comprehensive protection.
Your rental plan is primary. It's just you got the right to rent a car if you have an accident. If you don't have that, then you don't get to rent a car through your primary plan.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's just whether you want to. You do get transportation assistance through us as well. But if you have the rental on your plan, then that's a substitute vehicle. But again, even if you rented a car without rental coverage on your plan, your rental is a substitute vehicle and would still be covered under a valid comprehensive or collision loss on your plan, your primary insurance carrier plan.
Great follow-up question, Eric, and thank you guys for clarifying that. All right, if we're good there, let's jump to Nellie. Nellie's got a question. If someone is no longer covered by Good Driver Mutuality, can they still use their referral code to earn commissions? And so I'm going to interpret that a little more and say, let's say someone enrolled and they've got a car in the plan, but maybe they sold their car, and so they no longer have a car in the plan for a period of time. And can they still earn commissions using their referral code? And I'll go ahead and answer that yes, they can. Yeah, as long as you still are with Good Driver Mutuality, even perhaps at the moment you don't have a car that you have a plan on for a scenario like I suggested, yes, you're still able to earn commissions. I think that's more of a business question than a David and team question. But do you have anything you want to add to that, guys?
No, that's good, Alan. I was going to defer to you, so that's great to know. So thank you.
Okay, that's all the questions that we've got in the chat at the moment. These have been fantastic questions, and feel free to we still got a few more minutes. Feel free to chat some in or go off mute. And I just want to say, I mentioned at the beginning, I learned something new every time I talk to these guys, and I learned something new today. The new thing I learned today was, you mentioned about the 7.5% and so forth. I always thought that was off of your total pledge amount. I didn't realize it was off of the remaining pledge balance. So, did I understand that right, David? That the 7.5% is calculated not on your original pledge amount, but on the RPB? Did I hear that right?
Yeah. So your remaining, because your 20 was your fixed. Otherwise, that would I guess be more. Yeah. So it's as it goes down over time, that would make sense, right? To what is your remaining pledge balance? Not your original full quote or anything like that, or what was your remaining pledge balance after you paid your 20%, and then it's a fixed rate after that. I think at any time it's fluid, so it eventually follows with what your remaining pledge balance is.
Thank you. All right, we've got another question that just popped in. Fong Dong again. Thank you. In a situation where a couple owns two vehicles and both have a good driving record and want to join GDM, is there any reason for them to apply separately? If they apply together under one policy, we'll say plan, because that's what we have as plans, will the GDM premium, we call it a quote, right, be cheaper compared to the premiums they currently pay with their existing carriers? And how would they go about joining GDM? Okay, so I think what the question there is there a multi-car discount, right? Is there any benefit to having both if they own two cars, to having them both come in at the same time? And we have no multi-car discount that I'm aware of. I'll let you guys go ahead and add to that.
If I can mention something, if you have two cars in your Geico policy, you're already getting that multi-car discount, and we're matching that price with the discount.
So good point. Yep. So we're just matching the price you've got And so however you came up with that price, we're just matching it. Whether you bring one car in or two cars in, we're just matching the price on that individual car. And if you got it if you got a little lower uh, premium in the insurance case, then our quote will just match it and you benefited from that, even if you're just bringing one car in. That's the answer, right?
Yeah, traditionally in regular insurance, you get multi-card discounts, and you even get a discount if you get your homeowners with the same insurance carrier as well. So all those, and you get a good driver discount, or your teenager has a good grades in school, they give you discounts. So those would all reflect in your premiums with your regular insurance carrier. So the benefit is that when we do our quote matching process, those discounts are reflected in our plan. So it doesn't really matter if you assign one vehicle to one person's name and another vehicle to your spouse's name. It's not really going to be different. The quotes would still match, from your other carrier. So even though it's planned to be on a group, separate plans is not going to be different if you put them under the one primary person or try to have separate plans under different names.
Gotcha. Great.
There's a
Well, we've still got
question.
some.
There's
Oh,
one
go
question
ahead.
here that we missed that might be a good one to help clarify. Does that mean that it's not a good idea to remove rental coverage slash benefit from our insurance? And I think that might be a confusion in the terminology as to what car rental coverage really means.
Yeah, we covered that one, Brigham.
Oh,
Yeah, they
did
they
you?
addressed that one. That was
Okay, I'm
great.
sorry.
No, that's good. Got to make sure we're taking care of Eric. We love Eric out there building our East Coast. Thank you for being on, Eric.
East Coast.
All
Yeah, we
right. I see people still putting ID numbers in. Yeah, if you haven't put your ID number in, your UID, please copy it in there so that you're getting credit toward participation on this today. And do we have any other questions? Feel free to go off mute or to message in on the chat, whichever you'd like.
And Eric, growing the East Coast, just as that market starts to grow, we hope to do that. We're here on the East Coast, here in Richmond, Virginia. So many times it's a short drive for me and or member of the team to go. If you have a large group and want to do a presentation, then easier for us to get there than it is for me to get out to California on a moment's notice. But continue to grow on the East Coast, and we'll be here to help partner. And anybody's welcome to come down and visit our Richmond office at any time as well. If a handful of people want to come to the Richmond office and see what we do at the service operation, we'd be glad to host you as well.
Well, that is a fantastic offer, Eric. I'd jump on that. These guys are great. Okay. Well, if there's another question, chat it in. Otherwise, I'm going to kind of do a little spiel and promotion of what we've got coming up tonight. Tonight on our evening lunch, we've got Philip doing the business opportunity presentation. Philip's energy is so contagious, you guys. It's so exciting to have Philip present and share. You don't want to miss that. Get your prospects on that. And then tomorrow morning, hey, thank you, Eric. Eric says he's taking you up on that offer, guys. I love it. And then tomorrow morning on this same Right Morning Spark at this same time, Sandy is going to be on. And Brigham, you and Philip interviewed Sandy and have put that presentation together, right?
Yeah, that is correct. It's going to be pretty amazing. She really opens up about, just her journey, through life. She's been successful in multiple things, which tells you that she's got a good base of, a good entrepreneurial base. Definitely worth listening. Come and see her journey. Come and see what made her have it, and helped her have the success that she's experiencing, so you can experience it too.
Love it. Oh, I'm so excited for that. Our very first L7, our very first Tesla winner, Sandy she's opening up her secrets and sharing what she did to get where she is. And she became over 1,500 vehicles in less than, I mean, in just a few months of building. Just what a great success story she is. And we've got great hitters, great successful leaders lined up the rest of the week too. We've got Jaime and we've got Tito coming up too. And then we've got, of course, our evening lunch presentations. Brigham will doing one Thursday. Wednesday will be Griffin. And so Hannah asking what time for Sandy's sharing? 8 o'clock Pacific tomorrow morning. This morning spark, same time every day, 8 o'clock Pacific on this same link. So we love the content we're bringing. We love our great leaders being willing to share. We love all of you participating. And David, Steve, and Javier, thank you so much. You guys are pros, and I just love I love learning from you guys and and everyone. What a great opportunity we've had to have our confidence level just boosted, right? And as these guys talk about the quality of our repair process and the great professional way that they handle things, I love learning. Great presentation. DJ says, thank you, service team. Great job. So, David and team, do you want to have any closing remarks? I'll just turn it back to you for however you want to close it out.
No, I just want to plug again next week, same time, same date, same bat channel next week. We'll be talking about roadside assistance. So our topics will vary across the board from glass and the event handling itself, all of our service vendor partners. Number of topics. And if anybody has any specific topics, don't be afraid to reach out to Alan and Brigham and let them know if you have a topic of interest. If we don't have that presentation available, we can always create one. But again, seem to be some questions of recent about roadside, so we'll talk again about roadside next Tuesday. Thanks everyone for joining, and we're here to provide service to everybody that has events and make it a great process. And so far, I think it's worked pretty well for everybody. So look forward to continue to provide service for you and all of your groups that have joined GDM. So thanks everyone.